Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. The last day of 2017. I am Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Welcome to the Gospel Truth Program. We're trying to help you lose religion and find God, unindoctrinate yourself. I spent 20 years as a licensed minister with three of the largest Protestant denominations on the planet. I have a Bible college degree and over 100,000 hours of study in the biblical scriptures, over 36 years of involvement across the spiritual spectrum, from as conservative as you can get to, well, let's just say the other side, open to all possibilities. This is the Gospel Truth Channel, and I welcome you here. I hope that you will take time to have some contemplation today, even though it's not really a true new year in any sense of anything that makes any sense. Deanne, your resume blows me away. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. But I got a really interesting email from Misty, who has a Native American background, and she's trying to set up a seminar at one of the Native American casino retreats out in the Northwest. And I'm looking forward to hopefully being out there and getting to do that. And she shared with me, explain why I'm not dead yet. Well, because you're still alive, David. And she explained to me a ritual that her tribe, I guess is the way to say it. Hi, Catherine. Practices. And what you do, I found it very profound. I'm going to pull it up. I'm not going to show you the actual email, but where is that email? I think I put it in my trusty follow-up on file. Maybe not. Maybe it's in my other email, because I don't want to skip anything. I want to make sure that, here it is right here. So this is what Misty says. And Misty says, Jeff, this is something small but powerful to do on New Year's Eve. She says, light a black candle. Spend some time writing down anything that didn't work out for you in 2017. I have to tell you, Misty, that's a very, very short list for me. 2017 was a fantastic year. I think it's going to pale in comparison, however, to 2018. But spend some time writing down anything that did not work out for you in 2017. Also, anything that you would like to eliminate from your life. So while the black candle's burning, you make this list. Once your list is complete, burn the paper. While the paper is burning, say out loud, the old year has ended, and I say farewell. These are the things that will no longer drag me down. I send them away, never to return. Blow out the candle, and then bury the ashes away from your home. Light a black candle, write down anything that didn't work out for you in 2017. Write down anything you want to eliminate from your life. Once you're finished with your writing while the candle's burning, burn that paper. While saying the old year is ended, I say farewell. There are things that these things will no longer drag me down. I send them away, never to return. Blow out the candle, bury the ashes away from your home. I think an excellent idea would also be to speak forth any curses or covenants or contracts or anything that you've made, not just in 2017, but anything up to this point in your life that you want to renounce, that you want to get rid of, that you want to break over your life. Addictions, curses, covenants, contracts, anything of that nature. Speak them out, write them down while the candle's burning, burn the paper, and take that last step seriously. Bury the ashes away from your home. Just put them in a little paper bag. Take and bury that. You could probably just bury that whole paper bag somewhere away from your home. I think that's a very powerful reminder from Misty. of a very powerful Native American ritual that I think could be very helpful in our lives moving forward. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. And let's just check the chat room and see what people have to say. We need you with us. Hello, everyone. The rods would know how much longer I have. Not going to ask the rods if you're going to die. Just won't do it. What are the rods? Those are the divining rods. I sent you an interesting pic to your Facebook. It was above Calgary last night in plain sight. Well, let's take a look at what that was. I didn't see it. I got to tell you, I don't go on Facebook all that much, but I feel like I need to maintain it because people do want to go on Facebook. So this is above Calgary last night. Let me see what it looks like. Oh, that thing there. It doesn't really show up too great, Ken. It just shows up like a blur in the sky, but very interesting that there's a blur in the sky over Calgary. It looks like a streak in the sky. Well, I'll just show you what it looks like. It didn't show up too great on the, here it is. I think this is what Ken's talking about right here, this blur in the sky. And it was over Calgary last night, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Let's see if I can blow it up a little bit. It's not cooperating with me, but that's okay. It's right here. And the other picture that he sent, it doesn't really show up much better there either. So you can see it right here. So there was a blur in the sky last night over Calgary, Alberta, Canada. More of this UFO shenanigans that are going on right now. Not me, the list is lengthy. Well, Michelle, you might want to do it because if the list is lengthy, I would definitely do it. Wave a towel at the smoke detector. I still have hope, so I'm not broken yet. Ooh, is Michelle's eldest son shattered his femur on the ice. So sorry to hear that. A white candle and some black dye. There you go. Emperor or emperor? Did I get the Christmas card? I did not get the Christmas card. Baby cheeses, I think it may be. I was driving, it was right above downtown. It was the only thing in sky. Never moved for 30 minutes. Interesting. So there you go. So there's a helpful ritual for you. And there is some on the road reporting from Kent up there in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So some good, interesting stuff to start us off. And we hadn't even got to what I want to talk about lately, or what I want to talk about right now. And doggone it, I threw away the piece of paper that had the person that suggested this to me, their name on it. And I want to show you something. I want to talk to you about something that I think is very, very profound. And it hit me like the proverbial ton of bricks. It hit me like the proverbial ton of bricks when the person said it in the chat room. And what they said was, Lord of hosts, Lord of empty vessels. And it struck me like a ton of bricks. So I did what I often do. I went to Bible Hub, and I want to show you how you can use Bible Hub in different ways that you may not have thought about using Bible Hub. Here's BibleHub.com. I don't get paid to recommend this. I don't get any sponsorship or anything of that nature. In fact, if they knew how I was using it, they'd probably cut off my access. But usually you'll see me go up here and look up specific verses and then look into the interlinear and look at the Greek and the Hebrew. But what you can also do is go up here into the search bar and you can put in things like Lord of Hosts. If you put in Lord of Hosts and you hit enter, now you've got all of the occurrences of Lord of Hosts within the Bible. And I thought it was a great place to start in talking about the Lord of Hosts, his zombie army, and his Martian past. That's right. the Lord of hosts, his zombie army, and his Martian past here on the Gospel Truth channel. So let's just go to the first one. And I just want to let you know that the Lord of hosts is the same. It's the same Hebrew word in all of its occurrences. And here's what the Lord of hosts says. Here's what the Lord of hosts declares. And we don't really care too much right now what he's saying. We just want to look at who the Lord of hosts is, what the Lord of hosts is. What does that Hebrew phrase mean? So let's look at it here in verse 3. We're going to go up to the interlinear, which gives us the Hebrew and the English. And you can see here you've got Hebrew written, then you've got English written, and of course Hebrew's left to right. So there's your literal English translation. And as you probably know, you can click on each of these words and see exactly what the original Hebrew word was. So just in case you're thinking that I'm being unfair to the rat bastard, just in case you think that it's not really the God of the Bible, it's not really the Lord, it's not really Jehovah, it's not really Yahweh, who was created without the consent of the father figure, created only by Sophia, who has paid her penance, so to speak, for so doing. That's why I call him the rat bastard. He was created without a father. So just in case you think I'm telling you fibs, look what the word is. It's Yahweh. And Yahweh, YHVH, it is the proper name of the God of Israel. And everywhere you see in the or in the scripture, in the Old Testament, capital Lord, all capitals, you know that it is talking about the proper name of the God of Israel. It's the Tetragrammaton, and it is the rat bastard without exception. So the rat bastard, Yahweh of hosts, what does hosts mean? It means army, war, and warfare. Army, war, and warfare. So literally rendered, ladies and gentlemen, the God that you're worshiping, the God that you're praising, the God that you are saying is the God of love, the God of the Bible is the God of war. Literally speaking from the biblical text itself, the God, Yahweh, is a God of war. He's a war God. How do you feel worshiping a war God? How do you feel worshiping a war God? How does that make you feel? But God is love. No, he's not. Your God is a God of war, plain and simple. Like it or not, he's a God of war. Well, in the New Testament, he's not a God of war. Yes, he is. He doesn't change his spots. Did he not say, I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever? I don't change. Oh, let me smack him with his own words. The same yesterday, today, and forever. Look at that. He's the same God, according to Hebrews 13:8, yesterday, today, and forever. Guess what? Yesterday, your God was a God of war. Today, your God is a God of war. And tomorrow, your God will be a God of war. The God of Christianity is a God of war, period. The end. Set over, said, done. He's not a God of love. He's tried to fake he's a God of love because of 6,000 years of war and killing wasn't doing him anything. Wasn't working for him. So he's tried to change his spots. He's still the God of war. He's still the God of war. Reza says the Mistec bands are pretty crazy. They've all been shipped out. She said it was worth the wait. I think you'll agree. I think you'll agree. He's a God of war. He's a God of war. And let's talk about the God of war, shall we? The God of war, if you look up on Wikipedia, you look up the God of war, you get a couple of different renderings. First of all, you get really Ares. Okay, Ares, the Greek god Ares. And the Greek god Ares is generally reckoned as the god of war. If you saw the movie Wonder Woman, it was Ares that was the Greek god of war. He's one of the 12 Olympians, the son of Zeus and Hera. Listen to that. The son of Zeus and Hera. In Greek literature, he represents the physical and violent, untamed aspect of war. He represents the physical and violent, untamed aspects of war. Sounds exactly like the rat bastard. And he also works with, and remember, Athena was depicted as having Nike or victory in her hand when I showed you that at the Parthenon last week. But let's stick to the subject at hand, Jeff. Ares is the Greek god of war. However, if we are talking about the Romans, which is more current to us, in the ancient Roman religion, Mars was the god of war. And Mars was the god of war that they borrowed, stole, hijacked from Greek culture, Ares. The Romans reinterpreted the ways of Ares and put it under Mars. So Mars is the god of war. Mars is also the god of agriculture. He was the god of the Roman army. And another meaning for host, if we go back here into the Hebrew, host would be of armies, the god of armies. Ladies and gentlemen, do you see what I'm showing you? Yahweh says that he's the god of armies. Mars, through Roman religion, which is the basis of your Roman Christianity, be it Roman Catholicism or Roman Protestantism, he's the god of armies. Mars is the god of armies. Yahweh is the god of armies. Ladies and gentlemen, are you beginning to see what I'm talking about here? Mars is the god of armies, specifically the god of the Roman army. And guess who Yahweh is? He's the god of the army. They even talk about the army of God. Watch this when I type in army of God. You're going to get all kinds of talk about the army of God. I remember I was in the Church of God for a long time, and the book about the Church of God is called, Like a Mighty Army. And you've all heard the hymn, Like a Mighty Army Moves the Church of God. Like a mighty army moves the Church of God. You know what? Bless God. Let's just listen to it for a second. What do you say? Let's listen to it for a second. Can we go back and look at that a second? Like a mighty army moves the Church of God. Jesus is the captain, leading by his word. Bravely we follow where many saints have trod. Like a mighty army moves the Church of God. What do armies do? They kill people and they break things. Do you really want to be part of the mighty army of the killing God of the church? He is a military god. He is a god of war, and you are nothing but a practitioner of war if this is your god. Hey, if that's your thing, that's okay, but I think you deserve to know that you're serving a god of war. But let's stop for a minute and think a little bit about this. He's the god of war. Mars is the god of war. He's the god of armies. Mars is the god of armies. Is it possible as crazy as it may sound? Is it possible, as crazy as it may seem, that Yahweh, the being that we know as Yahweh here on planet Earth, like a mighty army, moves the church of God with the cross of Jesus going on before you? That's another song, Nigel, but there you go. It just gives it even more reality to us. Is it possible that Yahweh was Mars? Is it possible that before Yahweh came here to this planet Earth, that he was in charge of the planet Mars? And is it possible, because he was in charge on the planet Mars, that he thought he was going to come over here and be in charge of the planet Earth? And if you look at the planet Mars, and if you think about the planet Mars and destruction, if you look at the planet Mars, if you think about the planet Mars, if you study the planet Mars, there is some real compelling evidence that suggests that there was at one time a thriving civilization on the planet of Mars. There is good evidence to suggest that there was civilization on Mars, that there were peoples on Mars, that there was megalithic architecture on Mars. There's a great deal of evidence to suggest that there was life on Mars. Rocker Chick says Mars is the red planet, blood red. Yes, you are on it like Blue Bonnet. Rocker Chick. Was Yahweh responsible for the destruction on planet Mars? And did he come here to the planet Earth to carry on his reign of destruction? Did he destroy the Martian pyramids like he tried to destroy the Egyptian pyramids? Did he destroy the Martian Sphinx-like construction there on the, what's the name of that plane there? I'll think of it in a minute. Just like he tried to destroy the Sphinx on planet Earth. Is that why Yahweh directed his wrath towards Egypt? Because it reminded him, on the plain of Sidonia, it reminded him of the same civilization that was on Mars that rejected him, and he had to fight against and kill. And how about this, ladies and gentlemen? Did the people that were Egyptians flee the planet Mars? And is that why Yahweh came here? Because he was chasing them down. Was Yahweh the Pharaoh chasing them across the great Red Sea of space between Mars and Earth? He is a rat bastard. Was it the same people from Mars that came here and built the same type of pyramids? Was it the same people from Mars that came here and built the same type of a Sphinx structure? And was the same Pharaoh killing God himself, Yahweh, the God of war, the God of armies, did he chase them across interstellar space and chase them down in the plains, the Fertile Crescent of Egypt, and once again attempt to destroy them? How interesting is that? And did he bring the Hebrews with him that went in there and actually did the dirty work? Fascinating, highly speculative. But when a guy says that I'm the God of war, when a guy says that I'm the God of armies, and there's another God that said that he was the God of war, and then he was the God of armies, and when the God of wars from the red planet and the rat bastard's hands are stained with red blood, You have to ask these questions. You have to make these correlations, and you have to ponder them and discuss them within your own mind. I say, admittedly, speculatively, that I believe that Yahweh is Mars, that Yahweh was the God on Mars, and that Yahweh had a civilization that rebelled against him. He destroyed planet Mars, and he came here with some of his hitmen to track down those that may have escaped him. Now, if you take this even further into the speculative realms, before we go any further, let's bring out the new and improved divining rods. My t-shirt just says Texas. My mother went to Texas and brought me back a t-shirt. Let's see what the rods say. Is Yahweh Mars? Yes, Yahweh is Mars. Did Yahweh chase beings from Mars to planet Earth? Yes. Did Yahweh bring the Hebrews with him from Mars? Yes. There, more to come on that, ladies and gentlemen. I need to write that down. I need to write that down. Here's the mystery. Yahweh brought the Hebrews from Mars. Wow. Yahweh brought the Hebrews from Mars. Let's ask again. Did Yahweh actually bring the Hebrews from Mars? Yes, he did. Is Yahweh responsible for destroying Mars? Yes, he is. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And if we go deeper into speculation, if you remember my discussions with Heidi Vandenberg, and hopefully we'll be having more discussions coming up with Heidi. There's Roman statues of Mars, but there's no statues of Yahweh. Nigel says it's the same being with a different name. Nigel, I agree with you. Is Mars Yahweh? Yes. Are the statues of Mars representative of Yahweh? Yes. Good stuff. Is Jeff's shirt red? No. Interesting. Interesting. Very, very interesting. And Heidi Vandenberg and I have determined that her and I and Rex are from the planet Mars. And that her and I were involved in the rulership of Mars. We were the bad guys, so that stands to reason that Heidi and I worked for Yahweh. Heidi and I were henchmen of Yahweh, and Trish Gelder as well. We were henchmen for Yahweh. And Rex seemingly was one of the guys that escaped us. So Heidi and I have chased Rex from Mars to Earth. And now we're teaming up. Isn't that interesting? So now maybe you understand why I have such a hatred. I don't know if hatred's the right word. Maybe you can understand my motivations for wanting to take down Yahweh, because we've seen what he did on Mars. We are mad at our old boss, and we want to correct the karmic injustice of which we were a part. So that means that Yahweh knows who we are as well. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Michelle doesn't really want to admit it, but she says, this weirdness resonates with me as well. She doesn't want to admit it. It does sound crazy, but guess what, folks? It's true. It's real. Sorry about that. At least I didn't make you watch me blow my nose. Yahweh is Mars. Yahweh has a Martian past. And I was a part of it. Heidi Vandenberg was a part of it. And Rex, we have chased him across interstellar space. And now we are working together. That's a movie, ladies and gentlemen. That's a movie. That's some great, great stuff. That's some great, great stuff. I really like it. Maybe Jeff, Heidi, and Trisha didn't want to do what you were being forced to do on Mars. Agreed. Absolutely. Absolutely. It seems like Rex has always been a good guy. We're not positive, but it seems like Rex has always been a good guy. Very, very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting stuff. I don't argue with my daughters about religion. We agree not to talk about it. Interesting. Michelle says on Mars, he would have made us watch him blow his nose. On Mars, I would have made you hold the tissue. In fact, I probably would have blown my nose in your hand and made you clean it off. So, part one, Yahweh is from Mars. Yahweh has a Martian past. He is a dragon. Rocker chick. He has a bad past. He's a Martian. He's the god of war. He's the god of armies. He is Mars. And I think I'll just start calling him Mars. You are worshiping Mars. Oh, there's another. Whoops. There's another video. You're worshiping Mars. You are worshiping Mars. Wow. Revelation. Interesting. Aries was Mars. Mars is the Romanization of the Greek Aries. Mars is the Romanization of the Greek Aries. I brought it to the Greek to the Roman, because we are ruled by Rome still. Believe it or not, do the math and you'll find out that it's still true. Rome's religion still runs us. Rome's government still runs us. And we are still run by Rome. We are still run by Mars. Now, I think there's a lot more to that, but I think we've covered it well enough. But let's go back to this word hosts. What is a host, ladies and gentlemen? We're moving from the strict biblical interpretation. Host there means armies. Host there means warriors. Host there means soldiers, God of soldiers. But let's look at who Yahweh is. We know he is Mars. We know he is the God of war. And we know that his church is considered his army. His church is considered his army. What are soldiers required to do above all things? They're required to obey orders. I was in the United States Air Force for 6 years. I know what it is like to obey orders. Now, I wasn't a Marine. I wasn't in the Army, so I don't quite know it to that extent. But what you want to do, what you want to have in a soldier is a soldier that will obey orders without question. That's why they drill soldiers so hard. That's why they train soldiers so hard, so that individuality gets drilled out of them. So when they are given an order, they don't start thinking about it for themselves. They just do it. They just automatically do it. So if you're going to have the most effective army, would you not want to have soldiers devoid of individuality? Would you not want to have soldiers that do not think for themselves? And would you not want to have soldiers that just do what they're told, that just follow their orders? Think about what happens to you when you join the Christian church. And I'm going to talk Protestantism because that's what I know. I remember when I joined the Air Force, we all got up and we walked down and we raised our right hand and we swore an oath to obey the commander-in-chief. What do you do in church? I did work for Yahweh. You walk down to the front of the church, you raise both hands, and you swear an oath of obedience to the commander-in-chief. And you can't say it in your head. You can't whisper it under your breath. You must speak it forth loudly. Why does a creator need an army? Z Golden Report asked the great question. Just like when you join the U.S. Army, when you join Yahweh's army, you come down to the front and you pledge an oath. Only when you join Yahweh's army, what happens to you? You give your life to Jesus. You pledge your life to Jesus. You accept Jesus into your heart. Ladies and gentlemen, when you join the Christian army, you willingly, openly give yourself to possession by an entity called Jesus. And what does that entity do? That entity tells you to bring every thought captive. Bring every thought captive. What in the world does bring every thought captive mean? Well, according to Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse number 5, what he says we do is that we take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. We take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. Do you understand what they're saying? Every thought that comes into your mind cannot be your own thought. And if you do have a thought of your own, you are to immediately take it captive and direct it towards the groupthink of plastic Jesus. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Paul said, take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. Let's look at that. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse number 6. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse number 6. We're talking about Yahweh's zombie army. Now, having confirmed Yahweh's Martian past, we're now talking about Yahweh's zombie army. And if you're a Christian, brother, sister, you're part of it. You're part of it. Taking captive, what does that mean? Taking captive means to take captive, to subdue. You are to take captive every thought you have. You are to subdue your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own beliefs, your own convictions. Your blank, you're to subdue it. Allow yourself to be ensnared and taken captive in this war. You are a captive in war. You are a brainless soldier. I didn't make it up. I'm reading it to you from the original Greek. You are to take every single thought. You are to have no original thought. You are to have no original thought. You are to be an automaton. You are not to have original thought. You are to subdue all original thought and allow yourself to be ensnared completely as a captive in war. Subduing your thoughts to what? to obedience. What's obedience? Submissiveness, obedience, compliance. Are you really going to sit there and argue with me that the Christian church, be it Roman Catholic or Roman Christian, is not the leading shepherd of the sheeple? You are not allowed as a Christian to have original thought. You must subdue original thought. You must, as a good soldier in the army of God, submit and subdue every thought to the obedience of whom? Plastic Jesus. Plastic Jesus. Let me ask you something. What is a person that has no original thought? What is a person that has no original thought? What is a person that cannot think for themselves? What is a person that only does what they're told? Maybe zombie is too strong of a word, but robot is certainly not. You are a zombie, a robot, an automaton for the God of war, and you're killing people, you're killing cultures, you're killing sovereignty, you're killing divinity, you're killing freedom, and sooner or later, he's going to kill you too. Yahweh is Mars, and he leads a zombie army of which each and every person in the Christian religion is a part. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you believe it. If you've prayed that sinner's prayer, you are one of the zombies of Mars, the Martian zombie army of the Lord. Happy New Year. Do you want to spend another year as a zombie for the Lord, who is Mars? He's destroyed one planet. Do you want to let him destroy this one? He's wiped out one culture at least. Do you want him to wipe out ours? Me, Heidi, Trisha, we've come from Mars to fight him head to head. Are you with us? Or are you a zombie? Do you have a mind of your own, or have you given your mind over? Have you been assimilated by the Borg Lord? Do you have original thoughts, or do you subdue your original thoughts for your Martian Borg Lord? It's up to you. Happy New Year. What you gonna do now that this information is broken out all over you, brother? What you gonna do now that this information has broken out all over you, sister? Will you spend another year as the Borg Lord slave, or will you finally break free? I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian Whistleblower, leading you to water, hoping you'll drink, leading you to objective truth, hoping you'll think, trying to show you that you've been fooled, knowing that it's much easier to fool you than to convince you than you've been fooled. But I won't stop trying. Ask questions, question answers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to lose religion and find God. Yahweh is Mars. How long will you remain part of his zombie army? And guess what, folks? Once you're bit by the zombie, you're going to change. You can lie to yourself. You can say, oh, no, I just go every now and then. The virus is in you. Sooner or later, you will be assimilated unless you decide to break free. Unless you decide to unindoctrinate yourself. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Now you know. What will you do? Who will you be? Happy New Year.